So, hi guys. My name is James Barton from Pascom Networks Technique. And with me today, I've got a bit of a special guest, sitting here. Normally it's Matthias, or in the last couple of videos we had Jeff. But Jeff can't be here today in physical presence, but he's here virtually. So I've replaced him with a couple of beroNet boxes down there, including our mobydick appliance just there.
I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that?
I'm really okay with that, beroNet boxes.
Good. Right, well, first and foremost, welcome to our Unified Communications with mobydick and beroNet webinar. Thanks for coming, and we hope we can demonstrate a few bits and pieces that are very interesting to you. So I'm going to start it off with the going through the presentation, and if we take a look here, what is unified communications? So firstly, everything in one place. What does that mean? It means that you have all your communication tools in one easily accessible place. So for example, if you have chat, telephony, video telephony, mobile clients, all that kind of stuff. And the whole point of it behind it is that you really want to increase your productivity and make it simple for your users to be able to communicate in their everyday workflows. One of the other benefits of unified communication is that it will really improve your internal communication, not just in terms of cutting costs, but also by making it easier for your employees to be able to see if somebody's available, if they're on the phone, if they're currently in a meeting, and so on through presence information. Okay?
So a great...
All right, go for it, Jeff.
Okay, well, a great thing about improving internal communication is that it doesn't actually, with UC, you don't have to actually be in the office to do that. I guess you're just getting to that, mobilizing your workflow. Wow. So with that, you could, let's say you're on your way to work and you get a message, somebody says, hey, this person needs you to pick this up, bring it into the office, you can pick it up along the way, and then send a note whether you have it or not. And it can all be done through the UC system. So with mobydick, you have the Android app, you have the, all the apps, and you can stay in contact, know if somebody's online or available wherever you are, whether you're on a business trip and you need something quick from the office, you know who's available to help you out with that. Or if you're on, if you're on vacation and somebody sends you a note quick, you want to pass it on, you can figure out who's free to pass it on to.
Yeah, and also, for example, I mean, a lot of, you can also go one step further and say it's a generational thing. The older generation of the workforce, they would perhaps prefer still using their desktop computer, and so you need to have the ability to integrate with the desktop computers. The younger generation are more mobile focused, and so you need to have a way where they can still communicate with using their mobile phones, which also you could say, for example, a mobile device is your laptop with a soft phone and so on included. So I mean, that's a really good way of keeping your workforce moving but communicating. Got anything more to add on that, Jeff?
True. I just think it's a great, I don't know. My personal perspective is that I love being connected. I like being able to reach out when there's something needed for the office. I like being able to figure out what that is. And a system like this really enables you to do that. It enables you to work with people in real time instead of writing an email, wondering if their client received that email. It just happens right away. It really increases that ability to really work together, even across great distances, as if you were in the same office.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there with real-time communication, anywhere, anytime, in real time. I think there's the three big things that are good about unified communications that really do promote and benefit businesses. So I think what we should do now is perhaps move on to the next part of the presentation and about how you choose your unified communication solution. Jeff, it would probably be a good idea for you to start off here.
Well, when looking at a system, you really want to see that it fits that customer need. So if you're an IT person, you want to be able to work with a system that you can then adapt to a variety of customer needs. If you are an end customer, then it's really looking at, will this meet my needs, or does it have the features I need without overwhelming me with stuff I don't need? Or if it does overwhelm you, then have somebody that can guide you through that. Yeah. And so adaptable to fit needs. Not everybody needs all the bells and whistles, but they should be available if they're needed. So look at that.
Yeah.
And then
I was just going to interrupt you quickly there, Jeff. It's not just about adapting the needs for example, what unified communications can actually do. It's the channels that it communicates over as well. Do you not agree there, Jeff?
Okay.
For example,
Oh, I do agree.
yeah, with, for example, beroNet, I mean, you've got the ability to communicate over multiple channels using,
Yes, indeed.
using the
So
ISDN.
I can, yeah, so with beroNet devices, the gateways, you're able to connect with, well, I don't call it old technology, but older technologies. So if you have a bunch of, let's say, fax machines, you can do it that way too, connect your fax through that. If you need to reach out over the ISDN, but that gets into routing the calls, it gets into a lot of other things that is possible when choosing a solution when you look at the hardware factor of it.
Yeah.
When you look at specifically, well, I guess it's all incorporated with each other, but who you're getting in business with.
Yeah, that's
So
definitely true.
Move into that relationship.
Yeah, and one of the good things about choosing, for example, a presentation, a solution from us, is that we work very well together. We've been working together for a very long time, so that's, you know, it's a tried and tested solution on that front. But it's not just about the relationship with your suppliers. It's about the relationship that it can build with the individuals. So, for example, if we're looking from a partnership point of view, supporting you with sales tools, marketing materials, so on and so on, and being there when needed. And if we're looking from an end customer point of view, it's about being able to support the solution. And that's why I firmly believe that going for a beroNet and mobydick solution is very good, because we work together, we know each other's solutions very well, and we've done lots of stuff together. I mean, would you add anything more to that, Jeff?
I think that covers it, and I love the next point on there, the wow factor, because it makes it great. It makes it so there's two different ways, two things you have to do when you take on a UC solution. So first, if it's an IT person, they help their customer want the solution. If it's the customer getting the solution, they have to make sure their staff are like, wow, I really want to use this, or at least willing to try it out. And the wow factor really helps with that. And so with that, I'm saying, what can you demonstrate with this solution that makes people say, wow, this is really going to help us with this problem that we're currently having?
Yeah.
Whether it's in savings through using a SIP trunk versus a landline, or reducing the landline, or whether it's in just, wow, it does this? This is possible?
Yeah.
And then presenting it in a way, come on, wow, it's awesome. Presenting it in a way that helps people connect to it and say, I really want to try this, I really want to put time to learn this, because it just looks like it's really going to help out.
No, I definitely agree with you there. I mean, you need to have, it's kind of like the user experience. The user has to be sold on it. And that user could be the admin, or it could also be the end user itself who's going to be actually communicating with the solution. So yeah, definitely agree with you. So I hope we can demonstrate that wow factor today. This next point is a bit more to do with partners. As I mentioned earlier, it's about, you choose a partner who will support you, with marketing tools and sales tools and so on and so on. And I hope that by the end of the presentation, for the partners who are watching, we can demonstrate that we'll be able to do that for you. And the last part, which is very important, because behind the scenes, for any admin, you'll know this, everything needs to work seamlessly together, so seamlessly integrating every component. So I think when Jeff goes into the hardware side of it, he's going to demonstrate what beroNet brings to the party, and I'm going to demonstrate how it seamlessly integrates into the mobydick. So yeah, I think we've covered everything there, and that's the considerations you need to consider when choosing your solution. So the next part is to discuss the hosted versus in-house solution.
Oh, the ultimate debate.
It is the ultimate debate, and it's always going to get bigger, because there are benefits.
It is. I was at the Conversion Summit South up in the UK, what was it, 2 weeks ago, last week?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, and they had this huge talk on hosted. And you can see the people there, people who believe in hosted, people who've been in-house, it turned into this massive debate. What is the best?
Yeah.
And it comes down to the idea that each system has its own individual benefits, and whether it's good for you might be different than if it's good for somebody else.
Yeah, this is true.
So why don't you run us through some of those benefits?
Well, I mean, for example, let's start with the hosted solution. The benefits that you have with a hosted solution is it has a lower cost to entry. That's true. You're paying a monthly price as opposed to an upfront lump sum. And then it also gives you the ability to, for example, integrate more remote users or locations much more simply because they can just connect to the cloud stack as opposed to having, for example, extra infrastructure or hardware requirements that allow them to integrate. And then, if we look at the benefits of having a hosted solution, you can also think of the fact that you're getting all your requirements from one provider, which is great for your finance department. Don't question me with that. It is really handy for you on that front. And then you have to look at the other side of the coin, the benefits of an in-house solution. You have the ability that you have more control. You can customize the system as much as you want without having to go to that provider and asking them to do it for you. You will have less vendor lock-in. So for example, if you find a solution that you really, really like, whether it be the UC side or the hardware side or the SIP trunking side or whatever it may be, with an in-house solution, it's your choice who you go for. With a hosted, you lose that to a certain degree. And then there's also, you've got to look at the other side of the coin, where on an in-house system, the total cost of ownership is significantly lower. And we can see this in the graphic here. I mean, the graphic here is for a 50-user system, and we sort of extrapolated a little bit, and we've compared mobydick. It's definitely a sales one here. Compared mobydick to other solutions. But we've also, on the last one, on the right-hand side, you can see you've got the cloud PBX. And yes, hardware costs are lower up front. Setup is much lower. But then operational costs over a period of 5 years, cost per user, we reckon it's about €1,000 per user. Whereas if you own the system, you don't have that. So your return on investment is also much, much better and quicker when you have an in-house system. So that's sort of the truth behind the pricing. But there are a few more bits behind the pricing as well. Jeff, I mean, you talked about this when we were planning this webinar. What sort of things could you go through on the truth behind the pricing side?
Well, it's just along the lines of what you're able to do. So if you're a startup or if you're a small company just getting into business, and you maybe don't have a lot of capital, you don't have a lot of money in your pocket, able to invest, it just makes sense to go. It makes sense to go for a hosted solution. Yep. I'm going to say that flat out. I'll be honest about that. If you don't have the money to get the hardware straight up front, it makes sense to do that.
Yep.
But with that said, you'll pay more over time.
Definitely.
You have that ability to invest, and it is an investment, and it is an investment that does pay off. To invest in some hardware, to invest in your in-house system, then all you're paying for in the long run is the support for that system.
Yep.
Of course, if you're doing a licensing system as well, you have to pay for licenses, but it's not going to be all the stuff that you don't need. It's just going to be the down-to-earth stuff you actually use. That's what you're paying for over time versus paying a fee for everything that you may not be using.
Yeah, and this is it's another thing to really consider when you are choosing whether you want to go hosted or in-house. Or it doesn't matter when you're choosing about those two systems per se. It's even just comparing unified communication solution with another one. You really should look at as whether there's any form of maintenance included. So there's an update path to get new features and so on included into the solution. That's definitely something that you need to consider here. And it sort of leads us into when to choose which system. I mean, Jeff, you've already sort of touched on it with if you're choosing, if you're an SMB with low capital or a startup, where finance is a bit tight at the moment, then yeah, definitely a hosted solution. Or like we do, we have a rented solution. And the hosted solution will be coming very soon. So you can come to us for that front as well. But if you need a very highly customized system with more than, I would say, I'm just going to pull a figure out the top of my head here, 20 users, then an in-house system that you can control yourself, your admin can run, or your IT outsource department can run or manage, that is definitely something that I would look at, because you will just get more value for money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
very true.
I think we've put that sort of debate a little bit to bed. I mean, it will go on, and there's always going to be arguments, pros and cons on both sides. But from our point of view,
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much what we've got there. So beroNet and Passcom, a strategic partnership. I talked about it earlier. We've been working together not just on, for example, the technology side of it, making sure we can support the beroNet gateways, auto-provision them and so on. But we've been working very tightly together in sales and marketing promotions. I mean, last year we went on a road show. We were on the same stand at CeBIT this year. We know each other very well. And
Yes, we do.
yeah, thanks to beroNet, we've now got a complete turnkey UC solution, which is this chap down here, so you can get your gateway hardware and mobydick installed all together. And yeah, I would say it's a really handy solution to have. I mean, Jeff, what could you say about our partnership?
Well, I'm going to go on the line that it's always going to work well together because as companies, we've kind of, well, somewhat grown together and worked together for quite some time. And with that said, there's no element in the future where suddenly somebody's going to drop support for the other.
No.
It's a long-standing relationship, which means that as long as you have a beroNet device with the mobydick solution, then whatever happens in the system in the future with updates, we're both going to try to make it work.
Yeah, exactly.
If we can't figure it out, then we'll contact directly the other person and say, hey, this is the problem having, this customer has that problem.
Yeah.
Can you give us a hand? We can't figure it out. And so it's not only the support we provide each other in, well, webinars like this, it's the support we provide each other in the back end when we develop stuff, when we work together to integrate our systems so that they work so flawlessly that you can hardly tell that they're different systems. Yeah,
this is definitely true. I mean, we'll get onto it in a bit when we have a look at integrating the gateway into the mobydick software, how quickly and easily it can be done. Obviously, there are more complex steps towards it, which we don't have time to go through today, but it can be done very quickly and efficiently, which I think is the main aim of a unified communication solution. It needs to be as hassle-free as possible, and thanks to our partnership, we've managed to achieve that, I think. So, next step is how you choose your hardware. So, Jeff, it's over to you.
Choosing hardware. Well, first you need to look at what are you looking for when you're choosing hardware. As an IT person, when you're looking at hardware, you're looking at a learning curve. You're looking at future training. You're looking at all the expenses you invest to train your team, how to use that hardware, what to do with that hardware. It can be an ongoing expense. So different companies function differently with that. So you want to look at those details. And then there's the paying for training, one. Then two, there's the learning curve. How long is it going to take them to really learn and understand that? So if you bring on new employees, your company's growing, how long is it really going to take to understand it? And if it takes a long time to effectively work with that, that's more time spent in training, which is more money out of your pocket that you really, you don't need to spend all the time. And so when we come into specifically what beroNet brings to the table, we've focused extremely hard on making it as easy as possible. While we provide really solid hardware and it always works, that's the key that I keep frustrating. It's frustrating to hear this because I'm looking for good testimonials, and the only thing I get, I call somebody, they're like, "Well, it works." It's like, "Is there anything else?" Like, "Why do you need something else? It works." Frustrating, but we do it so well that you can install it in 5 minutes. It's really easy to do that. I came into beroNet without any VoIP background at all. I didn't know what any of the telephony terms were. I didn't know what FXO is, FXS, none of it. And I came in, and after a very short time, I could install a beroNet device. That easy. It's open to any operating system, so you can access, work with the device. If you're using a card, it'll work on any system you have. And then if you're looking at, well, PBX systems, it's also pretty flexible with that. It works very well with mobydick. If for some reason, let's say you have branch offices and you've already invested in another system, and you're not able to go all the way over to mobydick yet, of course, that's your long-term goal. It would work with that as well. So next is modularity and flexibility. It just makes it so the way they're designed, and I'll show you this in just a second, is in a way that makes it so that no matter what weird configuration you have set up, you can configure a beroNet gateway and build one essentially to match that system. Then the end capper, the one that really makes it fun and easy and just practical, is the remote management. You don't have to configure your firewall to do this. No matter where you are in the world, you can access that beroNet gateway. It'll send you alerts if it goes down. It's flat out easy, and I'm not going to say foolproof, but for this type of technology, it's pretty close to it.
Yeah, good.
So moving on from that, let me show you a little bit more about the modularity
Before we
and
move on,
flexibility.
can I just give you a bit of a reference
Okay.
here? The 5-minute installation,
Go for
how easy it is to do. Like you, Jeff, when I first started at Pascal, I'm a marketing guy. I'm not a technical guy, okay? I didn't know anything about how voice over IP systems worked. But if you watch the mobydick school video where I installed and configured a beroNet gateway, I did that inside of, I think the video is like 4 minutes something long. So it can be done in 5 minutes, and it is pretty much idiot-proof. From my point of view anyway.
Don't do that. Until somebody actually says, you said it would always work.
Yeah.
Okay. So that modularity and flexibility, what that actually looks like is instead of having one device that can only do one thing, we've broken our device into multiple pieces that you can then combine, match, mix and match until it comes to the solution you need. So whether you have fax needs, analog lines going into your work business, or if there is PRI, ISDN, or a combination of everything plus GSM, it's possible. You can mix and match any two of these. So moving on from that, well, just the cloud. Is also very cool. The cloud really, it's anything you can do on site with the gateway, you can do through the beroNet cloud. With the exception of, and I don't know if we're trying to develop a solution for this as well, like mechanical arm, you cannot unplug and plug things in with the cloud. If it's unplugged, you can't plug it back in.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else, configuring it, monitoring it, updating it, restoring a backup, making a backup, creating templates that you can then install into multiple gateways can be done via the beroNet cloud. And then, of course, receiving downtime alerts, which can be very useful, considering, let's say a system goes offline over the weekend, everybody's out of the office, they get back in on Monday, nothing works. Great, wonderful. They call you on Monday morning. Monday mornings are not the best time to get a call, and say my system's down. Instead, you get an alert. While it only refers to the gateway, if the gateway's down, odds are the internet in that establishment's down, because the gateway never really dies on its own.
Sorry.
So, no, you're good. And so with those downtime alerts, you, in the weekend, if you're an IT person, or if you own a company and it's installed in your company, you're going to get an alert over the weekend that says, hey, your system's down, and if you're dedicated, you'll go in before the Monday morning where everybody comes in and it doesn't work and fix it.
Yeah,
So as an IT person, nobody would know.
Yeah, it's also quite a good thing to have. For example, if you've just done some firmware updates or configured a new trunk or whatever, and for some reason the configuration hasn't been applied correctly or was incorrectly set up, and then you've left the site, it was running, but then there's a little bug somewhere, getting that downtime alert could be quite handy as well, to make sure that the system is continuous and enjoys maximum uptime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, moving on.
Moving on. So I say one baseboard to rule them all because the majority of our technology is built on the same concepts, the same idea, which is built into that baseboard. So as you can see there, go ahead and tap that one more time. James. There you go. You place those two modules, the module on it and a bridge, and you just place what you need there and it works. The thing about this one right here is this is the PCI card, now replaced with the PCIe card. And what that does is, from a technical standpoint, it connects to any system because it's recognized as a network card. That means that there's no driver that you have to install. There's no software upgrade that's going to break your system. If you, for some reason, decide to, let's say you go from Windows 8 to Windows 10 and suddenly something doesn't work, it won't happen with this card because the basic functionality is built into your system and it will always be able to recognize a network card. So essentially all you do is you plug it in and you do maybe a bridge, maybe not a bridge, don't always need to do that. And then you type in the IP address or you use the tool we have to find that IP address and you're into the web GUI and you can configure the device. With that said, from a technical standpoint, if you have a relatively weak system that you're putting this in, the card itself will manage everything that has to do with the card on the card through the onboard processor. So it will not tax your system at all.
That's pretty handy.
It's pretty nifty.
Yeah. Cool.
It is. So moving on from that, the card itself is then built into a box. It's not exactly the same card, but it's based on the same ideas. So you have that cloud functionality, the modularity, and this box allows it, well, let's say you need a rack, and you want to put everything in a rack so it's not lying around with a bunch of cables all over the place. You can do that with the box. So these 4 main items are built into the majority of our technology except for one, which is the next one, the small business line. With the small business line, we focused on creating something that doesn't require some of that flexibility because the person that's purchasing it or the company it's being installed in doesn't need that flexibility. They've had this for 20 years. They're going to keep using this for 20 more years. And so all they want is a way to use their new SIP system with the current lines or fax machine that they have. To do that, you just plug the device in and it works. And so you won't need that expansion later. You won't need the customized solution, and therefore you don't need the modularity.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else in this device functions just like the other one.
Okay.
Yeah. So moving on, there is the solution for the big requirements, lots of analog phone lines. So if there's a hotel or a hostel or even a hospital that has lots of analog lines, then you can still do that with this device here. It's just another gateway, essentially, with lots of ports for FXS. You can put lots of these in a rack and meet pretty much any need. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, don't you, James?
Yeah, it is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, as if you've got lots of analog lines, then this is the box for you. Yeah, so.
Yeah, essentially that's it. Now, my personal favorite, and I think it's a beautiful piece of technology, and that is the GSM gateway. The GSM gateway, well, as it says, it has GSM in it, but you can also still mix and match that. What that means is that, let's say you have an ISDN line, so you throw in a BRI or a PRI card with your GSM card, and then you have your SIP trunk. Now, let's say that for some reason that SIP trunk's not working. Okay, fine, fail over to the ISDN line. ISDN line's not working, fail over to GSM. So worst case scenario, you can always call over GSM. That's the failover solution. Next, least cost routing. If you wanted to, let's say, you spend a lot of money calling employees who have specific SIM cards in their phone to use a specific carrier because it's a work phone, you can put a SIM card in here, lower that fee, because I don't know about everywhere in the world, but where I am right now, if I call a mobile phone from my landline, I'm paying more per minute than I would if I called mobile to mobile.
Yep.
And so if you do that, and it's a huge expense for you, throwing that in there could also make sense.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
so there's...
Go on.
No, I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
I was also going to say, there's also, for example, in many countries, you don't have the option to integrate SIP trunking. So you need some sort of redundancy anyway. This could well be the solution for you because you could connect with your ISDN and then have the GSM as your redundant backup for whatever failover purposes that you might need. So it's quite a handy little thing to have.
Yeah. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. There are other ways you can use a GSM gateway. Like I said, it's pretty much limited by your imagination, whether you want to take it with you to a tropical island or whatever. It guarantees you can make a phone call as long as you have that connection to a tower.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which, as we know, are pretty much everywhere.
They are pretty much everywhere now. So there are multiple ways to purchase beroNet devices. But before you even get to that point, I really, really strongly recommend, this is mostly for the IT people, becoming a beroNet partner. And I say that because, one, you get access to that beroNet cloud. Once you apply, we give you that access. Two, you get higher support from us. Whether you're going to need it, most people don't need support from us, but if you're a partner, you get it quicker. Priority support. Then there's an additional discount on the product. So over the long term of installing beroNet devices, you're going to save money that way. been beta testing new developments. We do come out with new stuff. I know we make gateways, and some people are like, oh, gateways are nothing like the new smartwatch. Okay, that's fair. But there are some pretty cool things that are coming out, and just a tip on that, there is a new gateway coming out. There is a new appliance coming out, and there's an app coming out that can run on a gateway to enhance the functionality of that gateway. These are some things that are coming. You'll get more details on that in the future from us. But it's pretty exciting, and our partners get first dibs.
We're excited about the new appliance.
First. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited about it. I want it on my desk. It's really cool, but we'll get there. And then there's partner events. So we, 3 weeks ago now, I don't know, I've done so much in the last few weeks, I have no idea what my timeline is. But just a bit ago, we had a partner event in Berlin. We had hands-on training. As you can see there, that's actually the mobydick team there, ASCON team with my colleague John, going through the hands-on training where it was a challenge and everybody had to figure out how to configure everything within a certain amount of time. It was a lot of fun. Everybody enjoyed it. So partner events are pretty cool. Then the last point, actually it's not the last point, but the last point I've written here is the beroNet logo with the partner, so the beroNet partner logo. You can use that on your website. You can use that, there it is, to say that you have done this. There is a free training that comes with the partner program. To be a partner, you have to go through that training. And it says that you know what you're doing, which is important. It helps people, well, it's a social proof that tells people that, well, it's an authority proof actually. It tells people that you know what you're doing. Just another way to, I don't know, instill trust.
Yeah, exactly.
So with that said, that is the beroNet Partner Program. It does not cost anything to join the program. There is some time investment on the training, and you do have to have hardware in order to do the training. So there is that. But other than those items, partnership is a great idea.
Okay.
Moving on from that, we're going to go into the item that's really the perfect example of how beroNet and mobydick PASCOM function together, and that is the mobydick appliance. So on the left side, you have your mobydick installation. On the right side, you have your beroNet card. It's the best of two worlds built into one solid device. Why don't you tell us more about that, James?
Well, it's a pretty handy device. I mean, at the moment, when did we take it onto our portfolio? Last year sometime. And it's quickly turned into one of our top sellers across the German-speaking world, which is our core market. And I mean, it provides companies with the flexibility who want to have the on-premise solution, which they can manage themselves, plus connect with their different communication channels. And from our point of view, we love this system. It just provides so much extra for the company, and it's really cost effective. I mean, if you buy it directly from us, I actually think the appliance is cheaper when you buy it from us than it is from you guys. Sorry about that. But yeah, and it's just a really powerful system. You can run up to about 50 concurrent calls depending on your configuration. And we don't limit by concurrent calls. It's just that's the power in there. And with the new appliance, that'll be obviously higher once we get hold of that. Jeff. Yeah, so it's just a really nice, easy to use 19-inch rack mountable system. You can just put it into your server room, have mobydick installed and configure it, and Bob's your uncle, you're ready to go, and you can just leave it running for as long as you need it to be there, really. As I said, nice and easy, very flexible, cost effective.
So it's essentially the closest you're going to come to plug and play
Pretty
with
much.
the UC solution.
Yeah.
That's installable, so an in-house UC solution.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Which sort of leads me on to the next point, where it's now time to take a little bit of a look at mobydick and what it brings to the party. So, what is mobydick? mobydick is a software-based IPPBX in a nutshell. And with that, you get a whole host of unified communication solutions. But the benefit of it being software-based is that you can use that software and install it into your own hardware environment or virtual environment, depending on what your infrastructure may be. So you have no vendor lock-in. And that applies also to, for example, your VoIP providers, your IP devices, and gateways, although we recommend beroNet. Because of the interoperability and the modularity of beroNet here on this front. They just make a really good solution combined. With it being a software system, it also provides great scalability and flexibility in terms of, for example, if you needed to add new users, you can do. If you need extra devices per user, there's no extra cost. There are no limitations on devices. And if you need, for example, multiple VoIP providers for different countries or whatever it may be, there are no limitations on the VoIP providers that you can integrate into your mobydick system. And I've already alluded to it before, it's platform independent. So with the ability to install in numerous different environments, whether it be open source or virtualized or even into a Windows system on a terminal server or whatever it may be, you can install it into those, giving you great flexibility to choose to either integrate into your current system or if needs be, you have cost-effective solutions when you migrate away from your current system. So it's just a really nice flexible solution to use there. The next thing is that mobydick is very quick and simple. Like the beroNet gateways, configuring one takes about 5 minutes. With mobydick, you can install in about 5 minutes. From the moment that the ISO file is downloaded from our website, you can install it into the environment you want within 5 minutes. I've done it. If you watch the mobydick school videos, you'll be able to see that we do it into a virtual machine. I think in the video we use VMware, and again, inside of 5 minutes. Next really good thing, which is for the IT admins very, very important, is you can get a 100-user solution operational inside of 15 minutes. Now, what I'm talking about here is you've got, you're adding your 100 users, you're perhaps configuring a beroNet gateway, and you're getting them telephoning. Okay? Great thing here is that mobydick comes with a soft phone integrated, so you don't need to perhaps configure hardware telephones like this one that I have on the desk here, or you just communicate, you set up your users with the soft phones and off they go. And again, depending on how you want to install it, you don't necessarily need any additional server licenses. Obviously, if you go for a Windows system, that's a bit different. But for normal systems where we install on here, for example, you wouldn't need additional server licenses. mobydick is designed by admins for admins. I talked about it a little bit already. Basically, we want mobydick to be as quick and as simple and as uncomplicated but effective and productive as possible. And so that's why, for example, we have our admin web UI, which is intuitive to use. It's very user-friendly. We have lots of templates. So for example, if we wanted to integrate a beroNet gateway, you can just see there, you clicked on select and you can start integrating the trunks over the gateway and so on and so on. Again, we support auto-provisioning for certain systems, whereby if you wanted to integrate your mobydick gateway, it will be identified automatically. And you can then configure it directly from the mobydick commander, and off you go. And I've mentioned the gateways, the templates, sorry. We already have VoIP provider templates for numerous providers, and that's growing on a daily basis. And you can also fully automate backups, which for an admin point of view is essential. mobydick is productive. I said it's a feature-rich solution. We've got integrated video telephony, integrated soft phone, as I mentioned before. We've got chat, not just single user-to-user chat, but multi-user chat. And in the pipeline, we've also got permanent chat rooms, hopefully coming soon. And beyond that, if, as most medium-sized to large enterprise businesses have, you've got a contact center, whether it be a sales team or a support team. We also now have advanced call routing for example, skill-based routing, to really help drive productivity and support you in that respect. Now, that's pretty much enough of the slides. So what we need to look at now is the actual mobydick itself. So if we just go to our screen here, just get out of there, out of full screen. First things first, I mentioned integrating the gateway, being very simple. This is the mobydick commander. All you have to do is log in, and then if you want to add your gateway under gateway list, select add, and then you can select beroNet here. Okay. Now it's going to search for one. It's not going to find one today because we haven't got one connected. But if you don't believe me how quick and easy it is, watch the mobydick school video on integrating gateways, and also you can look at the video that Jeff and I made a few weeks ago where we actually integrated a solution there. It is literally quick and easy, takes about 5 minutes, and it gives you the ability to control every single configuration on the gateway directly from the commander, which is, for an IT admin, pretty handy. Okay, so now it's time to have a look at the actual software. So what I've got here, I've got two clients open, and these are desktop clients. That we've got native clients for, well, not native, but we've got clients for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And we also have mobile clients for your mobile devices for Android and iPhone. But I'm just going to quickly show you what we've got here. Here in the client, we have our normal sort of call history that you would expect with any telephony application. And we have, for the unified communication side of things, this is quite important, is we've got the user presence information plus the presence information for their telephone. I'm just going to demonstrate this quickly. When I click on here, this is the soft phone that's integrated, you can see that it starts changing. And here, I'm red. So I'm just going to hang up there because it's quite loud. But you can see the icons change. So that's for the actual devices that they're using, whether it be a hardware device or the soft phone. Their device presence information can be controlled as well. And then from here, for example, if I wanted to change my own personal status, I could just select on here, and you can see my box turns to red, and I go on to the other client, and here I'm selected as I am busy. And this is quite handy. You should use your status information as much as possible, because you can then turn around and say, for example, okay, he's busy. I'm not going to give him a call. I'm just going to send him a quick chat message. Okay. So I double click on him and I go, etc. Okay. And you can see it's here. And there we go. I haven't disrupted him in any particular shape or form, or taken or distracted him from his business. So he's still being productive, but he knows that I've tried to get hold of him. Here, just so we can show, for example, I could search my entire chat history if I wanted to. I could also load earlier messages and so on and so on. I can also do this from here where it says search. I can search, for example, contact. We'll just type in customer here, because we've got a couple of contacts here already added to our mobydick phone book, and you can see that I can see the phone book entry. I can also see entries from the journal, so for call listings and so on. If it was a colleague of mine, I could search chat messages as well directly from there, and I can find all the useful information that I need. Going on to the phone books, we have two types of phone books. We have our private phone book that is user-specific. So if I wanted to add an entry here, I could add it from my user, but no one else in my organization will be able to see it. And then we have the company-wide phone book. And you can integrate the mobydick phone book here. There's a few other options as well. If you've got an ERP system, most companies do, you can synchronize the ERP system or the CRM system with the mobydick, and if you're using LDAP or Active Directory, you can also do that, and really get a full synchronized phone book in between the mobydick and the clients, so that you can get your users with full access to the information they need to do their jobs effectively. Voicemail. It's a pretty standard feature these days. Everybody needs voicemail. Within the mobydick client, just under this tab, any voicemails that you may have would be listed here. And the same thing applies to file transfers. They would be listed here. How do you do a file transfer? It's pretty self-explanatory. All I need to do is use the chat tool, and I can do it per drop and drag. I can drag the file in there, and it will be transferred over and then stored here in a list later on for when I need to perhaps access that file transfer once again. On the note of file transfers,
very useful.
It is very useful, actually. It's a pretty handy thing to do. And what you can do here, as I mentioned on file transfers, is under the settings for the client, you can select where it's saved and so on, which is pretty handy because, I mean, not everybody wants it to be saved on the desktop or in the downloads folder. You may want a specific folder for your received files on mobydick, so it's always handy to have that option. While we're on the settings, we've also got here, as I said, it has an integrated soft phone. Our configuration's a bit different than what you might expect because we're in a studio. So we've got a few other options there. So this is what the microphone I could be using. And then I'm using ringtone built-in output and speaker built-in output. So I've got the speakers around me so you guys can hear it. But then we've also got video settings. That means we can do video as well. History behind that at the moment, it's it's user to user, so point to point. But we've integrated the Jitsi video bridge, and we are working on it so that it will be much more expanded in the future, providing greater video telephony services, conferencing, and hopefully in the future we'll also have some real-time WebRTC video communication built in there as well. Cool. That's quite a lot from the client point of view. So what we're going to do now is take a look back at the presentation, and here, go on to our next slide. We, of course, also have a partner scheme. So if you're interested in becoming a mobydick partner, you're more than welcome. The benefits you would receive is you would get, obviously, marketing, sales, and technical support from us. We appreciate that when you take on a product into your portfolio, there are things that you need to have access to be able to develop that and grow that product within your portfolio. So, of course, we're always on hand to help you there. We give you access to my Passcom partner portal, which in turn leads into the next point where we support you with lead generation. You will have a listing on our website, which is listed there, and any leads that come in from your area will be assigned to you, and they are yours alone. Now, of course, you can generate your own leads. So you can use the partner portal to manage your leads and so on and so on. And should, for example, we get a request from a company that you're already speaking to, if you have added them to our portal, we know you're already speaking to them, we turn around to the customer and say, yeah, we see that you've been in conversation with XYZ partner. Please, at this point, go to your partner. Of course, we will be there to offer any extra support that may be required, but they are your customer. Our fingers are away from that as much as possible. Yeah, next thing, you also get a 50-user not for resale license and access to mobydick school certification. So you become a mobydick certified technician, and you get to list this lovely logo, mobydick approved partner, on your website and link it back to us, which of course also helps with search engine optimization, so on and so on and so on. But we're always there to help you as much as we can. So I think that's pretty much it for today's presentation. Jeff, do you have any other comments, or should we open up the questions?
I think that pretty much covers it.
Okay.
So any questions?
Then let's have a look, see if we've got any questions come in.
I'm not seeing anything. We must be very, very, very clear.
We must have done a good job. There must be some questions somewhere. No? Okay. Well, we've got a question about price. Well, it's pretty self-explanatory from our point of view. Pricing is very fair and transparent. We have a per user price structure, which costs 129 euros per user, and that's for every feature bar one, which is high availability. So if you're a contact center or a call center and you need high availability, that's an extra module. And then everything else is in there. So all the features, the UC features that I've talked about, the soft phone, the video telephony, and so on, is included. Now, if you take our maintenance package along with that, you also have access to all our updates. So when we get new features, for example, like the skill-based routing that we introduced in our last release, the mobydick 7.11, you get access to that as well. And if you want to see a good demonstration of that, watch the keynote, which is also available on our YouTube channel. Cool. Jeff, any thoughts about pricing? For you, it's a bit more difficult because you're hardware.
Well, for us, it's depends on which level you are. If you're in customer, then there's an MSRP, of course. It depends on the software and the it depends on the hardware you're purchasing. So the pricing varies from what? Well, let's say, 299 euros to close to 2,000 euros, depending on what you're buying. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
right.
It's really dependent on what you're purchasing.
Again, I mean, for example, if you wanted a complete turnkey solution with telephones, gateways, and so on from us, that again, it's not just a question of the software licensing. So by all means, get in contact with us, and we're more than happy to answer any questions you have. Cool.
Same here as well. So if you're interested in learning more about beroNet or want to contact me, you can reach me at sales@beronet.com. Again, that's sales@beronet.com. And I believe you can reach James here. What's your email, James?
Sales@pascom.net. Pretty self-explanatory. Or just drop us a line, give us a phone call. We've got office in the UK. You can give us a call on that number. Or I'm based in Germany. If you are in Europe and it's cheaper for you to call a German number, drop us a line on that, or send us an email. So I think that's about it for today.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching. Until next time. Goodbye.
Until next time.